In this video, we're going to look at Excel Chapter 4. And Chapter 4 deals primarily with Excel tables and also Excel pivot tables. And we'll be also closely looking at the subtotal command. And then sorting, all very important components of Excel tables and pivot tables. So we've opened up our file. The name of our file is called Chapter 4 Tables. The file is made up of two sheets at the moment, McKenna Contracts and also Account Receivables. So we're going to begin by looking at McKenna Contracts. What we're going to do is we're going to click on cell B4, the date field. Then we're going to use an Excel command called auto filters. Now, how you get auto filters is by usually clicking on a field name, click on the Data tab, and then click on Filter. Now, what you notice is that you have all these down arrows. But the down arrows are all next to field names. Now, to get rid of that automatic filter, click up here again. It's all gone. But before we do it again, we have this top row over here. And that top row for our table are considered field names. And field names are the whole key to working with any type of a table, be it a regular Excel table or a pivot table. Because field names allow us to sort on fields within a table. They also allow us to filter within a table. And filter means select only a few rows based upon some criteria. So once again, this is a real important component of working with tables. That top row or a header row is also considered or named field names. Field names describe everything within a column. So for date, you can see there's all dates. Underneath date, there's a number of dates underneath it. Region, the various regions. COGS, cost of goods sold. There's currency, but they're all numbers. You don't have text in here. Sales, we have our sales listed, but they're all, once again, currency. They're not text entries. So we're going to go back here, click on date, click on filter. And once again, we have these down arrows or drop-down menus. I mean, that's really what it is. It allows us, we click on one of them, one of these drop-down arrows, we can select or filter. We can also sort. So we have our drop-down arrows next to each of our field names. And it's just so important. The field names describe the information or data in your columns. I'm on date here. Once again, we got all dates. Regions, we have all regions. Field names, sales reps. These are the names of the sales reps. Customers, products, cost of goods sales, and also our sales, and then state abbreviation. Next, we're going to sort this table. And we're going to sort this table on multiple fields. We're going to sort the table first by date. Then we're going to sort the table by customer. Here's our field names or our header rows up on top here. And what I recommend doing is always to place your cursor directly below your field names, one of them. And I mean, we could have chosen any of them at all. So place your cursor directly beneath your field names, right click, come down to sort, and what I always recommend doing is coming down to custom sort. By going to custom sort, it gives you the ability to sort on multiple fields. You're not just limited to just one field at a time. What we're going to do is we're going to initially sort on date, on the date field. And we're going to go with oldest to newest. Let's see what happens there. Oldest to newest. Here's the oldest, and it's ascending. Next, I'm going to do a second sort. And that second sort is going to be on customer. So I'm directly beneath my header row, right click, sort, custom sort. By using the custom sort, you can see what you've already sorted on. So you have kind of an audit trail. We want to add another level. Just click up here. We're going to sort next on customer. Then we have the ability to determine either an A to Z sort or a Z to A, ascending or descending. So we're going to sort in addition to the date. We're also going to include customer. Click OK. Once again, even over here, when you look at your field names, there's an up arrow here. For your date, there's also an up arrow, so which is showing you that those fields have been sorted on. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to filter our table. And I mean, what filter means is basically just select a few of the records, not all the records. And it's based upon some type of criteria. How you filter your table, and in this instance, we're going to filter by date. So we have the date field, go up to our drop-down menu, click it. Right now, everything is all selected. They all have check marks next to them. Let's even open them up. We can see by just clicking on the pluses. And even for the year 2004. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select or filter only by the year 2006. I just want to be showing the dates that are for the year 2006. So how you do that is by initially checking the select all. That deselects everything. You can see there's no longer a check mark there. So we deselect to begin with. That's the first step. And then put a check mark next to 2006, because that's the year that we want to choose. Click. You can see only 2006 has a check mark. Click OK. And the results of our filter is now showing. The small Y up on top, if you point your mouse next to it or hover over it, it will actually show you that you've used a filter. The Y means that that field has been filtered, and it's actually showing you what the filter is equal to. And basically, we've chosen all of 2006. That's why the records only for 2006 have been chosen. So once again, filter means select only a few. How you get to filter is by going up to your field name, clicking it, deselecting everything, and then just choosing the records that you're looking to view. Next, what we want to do is we want to take our title and our subtitle and merge and center those two fields. We need to highlight the information first. Highlight it all the way over here to I. Click on center. Come over to merge and center. Hit the down arrow. And we're going to merge across. Then to change that font size to 20, just come up here, change to 12 to 20. A little bit too big. Let's change it to 16 instead. Looks a little bit better. Next, what we're going to do is copy this sheet. The McKenna contract sheet we're going to copy. We do that by right-clicking. Come up to move or copy. We want to create a copy. So we're going to put a check mark here. We want to move that sheet to the end. So we're going to click here. Move to the end, create a copy, click OK. We have our new sheet. The McKenna contracts is a copy. It's number 2. And we're going to rename that sheet to data. After doing that, once again, we have our filters up in place, our drop-down arrows. First off, we want to clear the date filter. Once again, we can look over here. There's a small Y here, which is signifying that we filtered that field. Click here. And come down and click on Clear Filter from Date. So it's no longer filtered. Next, we want to hide the auto filter arrows, all these drop-down arrows here. The way to do that is by clicking on Data. You can see that filter is highlighted right now. If I click on it again, your drop-down arrows are now gone. Next, we're going to select cell A5 or even B5. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to select B5. We're going to stick on the dates. So we've selected cell B5, and we're going to take this information, this table, and turn it into a pivot table. So we're in B5. The key there is to be in a cell directly beneath your field names. How you create a pivot table is by clicking on the insert arrow, clicking here for pivot table. We have our box. So Excel has selected the range for the table. We're going to create a new worksheet to place that information. Click OK. Here's our blank sheet, and we're going to rename that blank sheet, or sheet 2, to pivot table. We have our new sheet name, pivot table, but more importantly is we're ready to create a pivot table from the information that we just inserted. Now, we know we're going to have a pivot table because, once again, it's saying pivot table fields. And I mean, this is the key component of any pivot table, is a listing of the various fields from our table. As long as we have those fields listed, And those fields contain valid data. And this is so important, that the table or the fields must contain valid data. And by that, what I'm talking about is that in the date field, in that column, you should only have dates listed. In the sales field, within that column, there should only be currency entries. You can't have dates underneath the sales field. Likewise, for the region field, you can't have numbers or currency within that field. So that's what I'm talking about, is that yes, you want a listing of your fields, but the fields have to have good, clean data within them. And as long as you have that, pivot tables are tremendously powerful. All you have to do is just drag and drop your fields into any of these 4 boxes here. And in so doing, we can analyze tremendous amounts of data within a very short period of time. Once again, we have a very small table. But I mean, even if this table were 1,000,000 records, all we have to do is drag and drop these fields into any of these 4 boxes. Now, I'm going to begin. Upper left-hand corner is the filters box. A lot of times, if you want to filter some of your data, you would drag the field into this area. Most pivot tables, though, however, you're usually dragging the fields into the rows box or the columns box. Once again, we're going to play around with some of this data in the next couple of minutes. But what's very, very important is that this box here for values, this is the box that you would pull the fields, any fields having to do with numeric computations would be pulled into this box. So for instance, if I wanted to sum my field cost of goods sold, or sum the sales field, we would pull it down into this box right here. And by pulling it into the values box, we have the ability not only to sum the field, but we can also average the field. We can count numbers within the field or count instances within the field. We can even perform some pretty advanced statistical operations within that field. Once again, the key, your field names. And you need good, clean data within your field. So we're going to begin by looking at sales by region. So we have the regions field. I'm going to drag and drop it right over here. Next, I want to get the sales by region. So by dragging that field into the rows area, it's listed over here. Right off, Excel has been able to go out and determine that these are the various regions. But I want to get the sales. Hold your mouse on sales, drag and drop it into values. And Excel has gone out and then calculated the sales by region. Now the beauty of Excel is that I can easily change my parameters. So if I want sales by customer, all I got to do is hold down my mouse, take region, hold down the left mouse, drag and drop it out of the box. It's no longer there. We're still summing all the sales, but if I want sales by customer, I can take that field customer and drag and drop it and place it right here. So we have our various customers listed and the sales associated with those customers. Let's take the region field again, and let's move in move it, hold down the left mouse, and move it into the columns area. Still another way of looking at our data. So we have like a cross tab here. So we have our customers, the sales by customer within the region. And all we've done, once again, is we've dragged and dropped our field names into one of the 4 boxes, keeping in mind that the calculations should be within this values box, where we're summing information or averaging or counting. Next, what we're going to do is format our pivot table. We want to make it easier to read and also to understand. Now, I've been saying for the last few minutes about the importance of field names. One of the things that I always do for my pivot tables is I don't like to have just row labels or column labels. I want to know what these various labels represent. I want to look at the field names themselves. So how you do that, you can click within your pivot table, click on the Design tab, come over to the left and click on Report Layout. Then move down to Show in Tabular Form. By doing that, you can see now that our labels are now showing our actual field names so that we know that these are our customers. We also know that our regions are going across here. Still, something else that we like to do, or we want to do, is to format the actual numbers here. If they're very big numbers, I mean, it'd be very difficult to tell, what they're representing. So we want to make it much easier to read. We want to format our numbers. Way to do that is when you're within the field name itself, or within one of the cells, right-click, Value Field Settings. We have the ability to change what's happening, the sum or average or count. But also what we have the ability to do is to change the actual custom name. I'm going to leave it as it is right now. But what I do want to do is change the number format. So if I click on number format, I can go down to currency. And within currency, we can change the number of decimal places. Right now it's showing 2. We want to make it 0. Click OK. And you can see that everything has now been changed to a currency format. Next, we're going to make some other changes to our pivot table. And as you can see, I've taken out the fields so that our boxes are all clear. We're going to really restart. So I cleared out the fields that were showing. I highlighted them, held down the left mouse, and dragged them off the grid. But what I want to do this time is I want to look at, once again, customer sales. I'm going to drag down the customer field down to rows. So all of my customers are now showing. Then I'm going to take my sales, the sales field, and drag and drop it into the values box. And Excel right off takes a guess, well, do you want to sum those sales? And yes, I mean, that's what we do want to do. But also what I want to do is I want to average the sales by customers. I want to find an average, have Excel determine that average sale by customer. How you do that is once again by taking the sales field and drag and dropping it underneath the sum of the sales. And what you're going to see is that there's a listing. There's a sum of the sales and a sum of the sales too. That's fine. This is what we're looking for right now. Now, of course, the numbers are the same because in both instances, we're summing everything. But in fact, right here, instead of sum of sales, I want to have average sales. And the way to change that is by clicking within this cell directly underneath the field name sum of sales. And we're going to change that field name also, but we're going to click over here, right click, value field settings. We'll get our dialog box, and we want to change the custom name to average sales. So we'll change the custom name, but also instead of summing the information or summing the data, we want to average the data. So we're going to click over here. And we also want to format our numbers to currency. And how you do that? So we're now going to average the data. We're going to click on number format. We're going to click on currency. And instead of 2 decimal places, we want to show 0 decimal places. Click OK. Click OK again. We've made some changes here. Instead of average sales 2, we're going to just call it average sales. And these are our results. So once again, we've changed the name of that field. We've changed the format to currency. And we're also averaging the information. Let's go in here, make some changes here. Underneath sum of sales, we're going to right click, come down to value field settings. We're going to leave it as sum. And we're going to leave it also as sum of sales. However, we want to format the numbers. So we're going to click on number format, currency, 0 places. Okay, okay. And once again, our formats are now similar. Next, we're going to change our pivot style, and we're going to change the style to doc number 3. How you do that, you have to make sure you're clicked within your pivot table, Design tab, Pivot table styles, hit your down arrow. They're looking for doc 3, so you need to scroll down. Again, if you move across, it'll show you pivot style doc 3. Click here, and we've changed our style. We're within our pivot table sheet. You can see we don't have a title or subtitle. So what we're going to do is click on the data sheet. We're going to highlight our title and subtitle. Highlight it. Control C. Click on our pivot table sheet. Click in A1 and paste. And what we're going to do next, instead of having it centered, we're going to click on Align Left. Next, we're going to take our data sheet and we're going to make a copy of it. So data sheet, right click, move a copy, move it to the end, and make sure we put a check mark next to create a copy. Click OK. We have our new sheet. And we're going to name that new sheet subtotals. And what we're going to do next is use the subtotal command. And we're going to do a subtotal by customer. So we're going to do a subtotal by customer. Now the components to the subtotal command is always to do a sort on the field that you're going to be subtotaling on. So once again, the first step is to make sure you do your sort. And that sort is based upon the field that you're going to subtotal on. What we said is that we're going to subtotal on customer. So what we need to do first is to do our sort. So we're underneath the field name customer, right click, sort, customer sort. Come down to our drop down arrow, click on customer. It is going to be A to Z, and we've done our sort. These are various customers in ascending order. After we've done our sort, what you do is you click on the Data tab. After clicking on the Data tab, you move all the way over to the right. Click on Subtotal. And we're going to fill out this box. Now the first line throws a lot of people. It says, at each change in. What that means is, what are you going to subtotal on? What field are you going to subtotal on? We're not going to subtotal on ID. We're going to subtotal on customer. So we need to go to the drop-down menu and move down to the field name customer. Once again, that's the field that we sorted on. We then have the ability to use various functions. So that's the first line. The second line is, what function are you using? I want a sum. Now, once again, you can see here that there's various functions that you can use. Sum, count, average. But we're going to use sum. The third box has to do with the field names that you're going to subtotal or perform some type of summation on. That's the function that you're going to use, is summation or adding. You can only add numbers, numeric fields. So you want to make sure that these various text fields or dates, that you're not trying to sum them. You can't sum state abbreviation. It had a check mark. I removed it because it's a text field. We can't sum that. However, we can sum sales. So basically what we're doing right now is we're subtotaling on the field name customer, and we're going to sum our sales. Click OK. See, we have three numbers up here, 1, 2, and 3. If we click the 1, that's the grand total, widen that column. The 2 is actually our subtotals, the various customers, and what the sales were. And 3 is a breakout of all the customers. So number 2, once again, is our subtotal by customer. The steps are always, first off, sort on the field that you're going to subtotal on. We're subtotaling on customer, so what we did right off, first thing, we sorted the entire table by customer. When we're looking at the box, we have to make sure that that first line has to do with the field that we're subtotaling on. We need to change that if it's not listed. We choose our function. We can sum things, add things, average. And then lastly, we have to check off the field names that we're going to sum, keeping in mind that you cannot sum or average a text field. So it has to be a numeric field. If you need to get rid of a subtotal, what you do is you click somewhere within your table, but it has to be within the table. Click up here on a subtotal box. And then you could click here for remove all. But we're going to leave it as it is. Once again, that first line here, it has the field for your subtotal, the function, and the only thing that's checked off are your numeric fields. Next, we're going to work with an Excel table. We're going to begin by going to the accounts receivable sheet. We have what looks to be a table. Kind of scroll down. The main components being, it appears to be our field names, and in fact they are. Our field names are date, region, sales rep, customer, product, COGS, and sales. But these are our field names, and that's the key component. So we've identified what our field names are. Next, we're going to click in cell A4. Click on the Home tab. After clicking on the Home tab, we're going to move over to the right. We're going to format our table, or format as table. Medium style, we're going to take medium style 10. Always make sure that my table has headers. This is the range for the table. Click OK. Click Yes. And we have our table. Now we know we have an Excel table because in fact all of our field names or headers have the drop-down arrow next to them, or drop-down menu. This drop-down arrow or menu allows us to filter our table and also to sort our table. A few helpful hints on the table. Once again, we know we have an Excel table. All of our field names have the down arrow next to them. In order to navigate around the table, if you hold down the Control and then tap End, it'll take you to the end of the table. So it'll give you a good idea of how big your table is. That's Control End, E-N-D. Control Home takes you to the top of the table. If we want to sort our table, once again, we place our cursor directly underneath one of the field names, right-click, and sort. I strongly recommend that you go down to Custom Sort, which gives you the ability to do multiple sorts. So we can sort first by date, oldest to newest, add another level or add another sort, and we can do a sort by sales rep. Click OK. So we can see that we have our sort by date. You can see there's an up arrow here. And we've also done a sort by sales rep. Once again, the up arrow indicates that we've sorted on ascending fields, in an ascending order rather. Let's go back here and let's make a couple of changes. Click underneath your field name, right-click, Sort, Custom Sort. I want to go to that date field, and I want to delete that level. So I've clicked in here, click on Delete Level, and I want to sort just by sales rep. So we've had a change here. So everything is now all sorted by sales rep. Once again, what we did, right click, sort, custom sort. If I wanted to get rid of the sales rep, I would click here, delete. But we want to leave it. We want to have one sort just on sales rep, A to Z order. The reason why I did that is that once you have a table, an Excel table, it's very easy to basically get a total row. We can kind of find subtotals on this information. Here's how we go about it. We're clicked within the table, click on Design tab, come over here to the left, we want to put a check mark next to Total Row. Once again, it takes you down to the end of the table. You can see that now there is a total that has been inserted here. And also in this field here for my sales. Now, a lot of people would say, well, how do they come up with that number? If I click within this cell, a down arrow is now appearing. If I click on it, it will show that we're summing that entire field name sales. Likewise, once we've added that total row, I can go into any of the rows along total. We're going to click here underneath the cost of goods sales. By clicking here, we now have a down arrow again. I can click here, click the down arrow, and once again, sum the cost of goods sales. Widen our field, we can now see it. If I wanted to count the information, I can sort, or rather click here underneath my product, click the down arrow, and click on count. Once again, there's numerous functions that you can apply. We could determine the maximum number or the minimum number. All you have to do is just click along the total row, click the down arrow, and choose whatever function that you're interested in using. And that's all a result of the total row. We go to the top of the table. We have the ability to filter the table. I'm going to go to sales rep. All the sales reps are now chosen. Select all. They all have a check mark next to them. If I uncheck select all, I can go in and just get the sales for Mr. Chin. Click OK. And you can see only Chin has been chosen. And these amounts here have also been adjusted. There's a Y over here signifying that we've done a filter, and that filter is based upon the name Chin. I can go up here, add in Jerry. So I want to get sales figures for Chin and Jerry. So I got check marks next to both of those names. Click OK. And for Chin and Jerry, they're both listed. And these would be the amounts. So there's tremendous power here. Now, the thing to keep in mind for an Excel table is that Excel tables are in and of themselves dynamic. It means that they can change. They're not static. So if you add records onto your Excel table, the amounts will change here. So Excel tables are dynamic. They can change. As a result, what I usually do when I'm creating a pivot table, I'll take the data and then turn it into an Excel table. And then my pivot table is in fact based upon that Excel table. Now, the pluses to that is as that table adds more records, my pivot table numbers or figures will change. They will reflect the changes in the underlying table. So it's a very good idea to base your pivot tables on an Excel table because it's dynamic. And as that table changes, your pivot table results will also change. Now, we have our Excel table. Our total rows are showing. To remove them, uncheck here. Totals are now gone. And a lot of times you might want to convert that information back to its original state. And how you do that? You're in the Design tab. Click over here on Convert to Range. A dialog box appears. Do you want to convert the table to a normal range? Yes, you do. And as you can see, it's now showing up in the same manner as before we changed it to an Excel table. Thank you very much.